Chat either if you don't know.
Unmuted. All right. We'll go ahead and call to order a special meeting, special call meeting for the town council of Tooele Falls, June 23rd, 2022. Need to get a motion to approve our agenda. Joey makes that motion, Scott seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right. I don't believe there's really any discussion on the budget. No changes were made. So I'd like to get a motion to adopt the budget.
Motion to adopt.
Joey makes a motion, Tom seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right, since we had this meeting, we had something happen last week. I threw on the agenda just a blanket water operations discussion. During our council meeting on the 9th, I got a text that there was no water pressure on the mountain. So I went up and checked. The pump had shut down. One pump was turned off, the other pump had shut down automatically, and so I reset it, went on about my business, thinking everything would be fine. Friday morning, as I'm getting ready to leave town, I get another text, no pressure on Hickory Nut Mountain. So I go up there, do the same procedure. In the process, we found out a heater was left on in the building. So I thought well, maybe the heat had kept it on and caused problems with the VFD. So I reset it, set a fan to blow, cool, keep the room cool. We vented it last year, and we thought maybe everything would be fine. And then I got another text saying that there's no pressure on Hickory Nut Mountain. I think, I can't remember if it was later Friday or maybe it was Saturday. So I had Gary go up during the weekend and reset that thing. He had to do it every hour and a half. He was going up there constantly, having to reset that motor. When I went up Friday, I noticed that a VFD, one of the drives that runs pump number 1, was missing its faceplate and it was laying on the ground. That's the same VFD that had been damaged by water last July. So I thought that that had never been replaced. So I went back through all of the water department notes and looked to see if it had ever been reported that they'd replaced that VFD, and I couldn't find it in any of their reports. So started working with Gary, and we decided to go ahead. I talked with Scott Monday. We decided to go ahead and put an air conditioner in that room as EMS had suggested we do. Later Monday, the thing tripped again. Like a little portable window type AC unit. We put it in later Monday, it tripped again. And that's when I asked Mike why that VFD had never been installed. And he came back with something about electrical this, something. And I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm frustrated. I'm on vacation having to deal with all this. Turns out it was a little bit worse than we thought. It wasn't just the VFD that was down because it couldn't hold its faceplate. That pump has been out of service for I don't know how long. So we've been running with only one pump providing water up Hickory Nut Mountain for untold. First time I saw pump number 1 turned off was back in February when I went up to reset the pumps after a storm had blown through. So it could have been from February on, I don't know, but we're only running on one pump right now. So Tuesday, I had Bruce Vickers take over the water system, and he notified EPD. We went through the process, and he's going through and getting everything set up. EPD is going to come out and do another inspection for us. And I've gotten at least one quote to swap out the motor because we have a pump and motor assembly on standby in storage right now. And I don't know why it never got put in. So one of the things I'd like to do is see if you could, because we're already over budget on water by quite a bit. And we need to get approval to go ahead and get that other pump put in. So
We'll get a grant out of that.
it's not, yeah, we're one level up on that grant. So that's good news. We're in the running for that $4 million grant. But so the one quote we've got so far is for under $700. I'm waiting for another quote to come in. I'd like to go ahead, since we're meeting tonight, see if I can get approval to go ahead and for up to $700 in labor costs to swap that pump out. and that'd be American Water that provided that estimate. So if I could get a motion that we approve $700 to replace that pump or swap that pump out.
Is it the pump that's the issue or the VFD?
The pump, for right now, we know the pump's bad, but we won't know how the VFD is until that pump's operational.
Well, the pump that was working, why is that VFD keep going off?
Okay, we found out that it had been, the settings, we had Chris Ward,
Yes.
Chris Ward up on the mountain. He actually, his company sells pumps and VFDs and motors and all this stuff. So he had offered to go up there and look at it. So I contacted him and his guy Juan came out Friday. They looked at it. It turns out that the ramp down speed on that pump was too fast. It was causing an overload situation on that pump.
So it's flipping right.
And so it's flipping the
So it didn't have anything to do with the
VFD. Didn't have anything to do with the heat. Except that then Amtech, I had them come out and inspect Monday to see if the VFDs were in decent working order. And they found that the cutoff temperature on the VFD that's been shutting down was 85 degrees. So they jacked it up to 95. So yeah, the heat wasn't really the issue, but it would have become the issue.
Okay, so pump one is now operational based on those findings, or pump two.
Pump two is
Yeah, all right.
operational based on that.
And they is pump one used or two uses a backup to each other, or they both use simultaneously?
There's supposed to be a backup. They're supposed to swap out periodically
Okay.
so that we can relieve
And then
one
if
rest.
one of
and
them
one
fails,
use.
like a VFD or something goes bad, the other one will automatically kick in?
So it's supposed to happen.
Okay. And so the thought was some unknown reason we had a pump sitting in storage, but no one thought to check the other pump that hadn't been running for how long?
For the best I can tell, it's been not running since February.
February?
That's when I first saw that pump
I
turn
guess
off.
you wouldn't really notice it wasn't running as long as you have water. So you start losing water because one pump goes down, you don't have the backup. We found out the backup's not working. So how can you detect whether one pump's not working or the other if they switch back and forth? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
Chris told us that they have a product that will send an alert.
Okay, so in
So
other
we're
words,
gonna
since
look into those.
February, everyone that's done water inspections, et cetera, no one's noticed the pump's not working. So we've been killing one pump.
Yeah.
Basically. Just a bit, right?
So
Okay,
that's,
so now it starts firing off and everybody gets an uproar. Come to find out it's not a pump. Spare pump's not working. Why did the other pump's not working. Why did we buy the extra pump?
so that we could replace one if one failed.
So we
And
had
back-
that plan, but we didn't have a plan.
Yeah, we had the
for
plan in
knowing what it
place and it wasn't followed through on. Also, back in July of last year, when the one VFD failed because of water spraying on it,
Yeah, that's the electric one. Yeah.
I made the suggestion that they get a quote for buying a new VFD to have on hand. The same as we have the pumps. We'd have 3 VFDs, 2 in operation, 1 as a backup. And we'd have 3
I mean,
pumps.
if you got 2 pumps and they're made to circulate or back and forth, that is your backup.
Yeah.
If a pump goes down, there's no reason to have a spare laying around, because when it does go down, you have time to go ahead and order one while one pump's working. So in this
Sometimes.
case, we never knew the pump was down.
Right.
All right. Don't know the pump's down, no system to tell you, no one checking it. We're good at it.
Right.
So, I'm just curious, who's responsible for checking? How can we make it where it's alert, like you said, you put alert on?
Yeah, we can,
Could it happen again in the future? You never know. I don't walk up to that
I
building.
mean, the only thing you could do is to shut down the working pump and
And check it.
manually check it.
Manually check it. So it should be like a maintenance item.
Yeah.
Like a checklist.
Right.
That someone that does water should do. Water systems.
Yep.
Okay. I was just curious. I was making sure.
so,
So all this happened because of that.
yeah, all because either the pump failed at some point, someone turned it off, or it'd been turned off and no one knew it had failed, which I think is odd. They should have.
But
normally it's left
we
on.
determined it's definitely failed. The pumps.
It has failed. What happened, I wanted Gary to try to see if that other VFD would actually still worked.
Mhm.
And when he turned the pump on, were you up there
I was up there.
when that happened? And I know Chris was up there and they heard that, the noise, and they don't know if it's the coupler or the impellers in the pump. So since we have an entire assembly sitting in the tractor shed,
You're gonna swap out
We're
and see
gonna
if it works,
we're
see if
gonna
that's the problem. So we're not 100% sure it's the pump, but we're pretty sure.
yeah, I would,
Okay.
yeah, I'd be pretty sure that it is the pump.
Well, I
And
hope that's
Chris,
what it is.
Chris
Chris
is
is
on
on one.
yeah, Chris has offered to pick it up and do the repair on it.
That's nice of him.
And he has said that any way that he can, he would do everything at full cost for us too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So,
And help. Great.
So the one that's not working currently would become our backup.
yeah, we would turn it into our
Once it's
backup.
repaired.
And then we need to get some type of either checklist maintenance where whoever's
Absolutely.
doing the water
Well,
checks
if
things.
Chris is familiar with it, then he
Yeah.
can give us an idea of how often that should happen.
Yeah,
Is it quarterly? Is it
That would have stopped all this nonsense like that.
But that's never been in place. That's what I mean.
No, yeah, not that I'm aware of either. So, fortunately, again, Gary was here and could run up there and he'd check it every hour or so until Friday, when Juan made the discovery about the ramp down speeds. From that point, they changed it. They called Amtech. Amtech told them how to change it. They made the change and it hasn't shut down since. So Gary's extended his visits to twice a day now. So,
So right now, we're good. If we get the pump swapped out, we'll definitely get good. If we get an alert system and or a maintenance checklist system for whoever's checking it, we should be good in that situation. We learn and live, right? That's what
Yeah.
we learned about that pump. But we learned about other things. I got you.
so because we're over budget, I feel like we need to get an approval for I'd say up to $700 to do that swap out for labor.
I'm always for water.
Second. All right. Craig makes a motion, Tom seconds, all in favor, it's unanimous. All right, I'll call our other guy, see if he's got a bid ready, and if he does, Scott and I'll consider it, and then, the American Water said he could do it early next week, probably. So,
He would be my preference.
I think so, I think that'd be a good route to go. The other guy I called, I can't remember the company he's with, but their company takes care of Sky Valley, their water system, so Linda already knows him. They do Helen's water system, so there's someone to consider, like repair work and so forth, so there's someone to consider to have on standby. They do Dillard, yeah, so they've got the equipment to handle this type of repair. I called Davidson Well Drilling, he came out and looked and said, "Nah, I can't do that."
Yeah.
So he's up front, he didn't try to pull any punches. He said, "No, I can't do that, but call this guy." So that's how I got hold of Rick's number. And Rick used to work for Midway Electric, doing their electrical and pump work, and then he went to work for this other company. So these are two really good resources to have when we have something go down, to come out, because unfortunately, sometimes Bob is not as prompt. And that's really what a lot of this is boiled down to, is we have fallen off of priority lists here lately. And EMS, in fairness to them, they lost Scott Porter, who carried the lion's share of their work. The guy that's taking care of our stuff, Josh Lester, injured his back. So they're down 2 employees, and their response to our ability, they're not able to really respond in the time frame necessary to address these issues.
In all fairness, then Josh came out on that Sunday and met with me at the pump house.
Okay.
He said, "I may need you to help a little bit." He says, "Because of my back," but that was easy. I was happy to do.
Did he have understanding about how those pumps were set up?
He did,
Okay, it's a backup pump.
yes.
Did not know it wasn't working.
Um,
I'm
He
just
was-
curious on this.
No,
This is
well, we
not
didn't get into
God's
that detail. Our
Okay.
main concern is just to get it up and running.
question. Right, but if one pump's not running, you think the other one would be running, if you do the system.
Right,
I'm learning, so.
but at the
Wasn't
same time, the VFD on the other pump wasn't working at the time.
Do you know it wasn't working prior to that? No. No one
That I
did?
don't know.
Yeah. just
And
seeing-
he hadn't been in the field in 6 weeks, I
Yeah,
think, if not longer, because of his back. So,
It just seems like you'd have a maintenance checklist on systems that you
Yeah.
generally run through monthly, weekly, whatever you want to do.
And I went back,
If they had one like that.
I went back through all the water reports and couldn't find where they said that they replaced the VFD. I know we paid for it because Amtech told me they sent us an invoice for the refurbished VFD, but there was no report that it got replaced. There's no report that a pump had failed. So, you know, I'm sitting there in my hotel room trying to put pieces together, and I was coming up short and wondering why we're in this situation now where
Yeah.
that second pump should have been.
I mean, from what I could tell, based on what I was able to dig through, it's been that way since July 21st of last year.
Okay, yeah, July 24th is when I reported the water leak in one of the manifold. Just below a backflow preventer, that it was shooting that water over the wall. And I didn't realize at that time that it affected that VFD. But yeah, that's when, in July of last year is when that VFD first went out. So, if there's nothing else, we can get a motion to adjourn.
But what's our long-term plan?
Long-term plan, we need. It's been suggested, one suggestion is we may want to talk to Demorest or Raven County about taking over our water system. That's come up. Another long-term plan could be to hire an individual as an employee part-time that we can direct and we can give these lists to say, make sure these things are being done. Or go back to milling it out like we've done with somebody like American Water. So that's something I did want. I'm glad you asked. That is something I want you guys to consider for our July meeting. Right now, Bruce said he'll take care of it. He's not charging us for his time. We've got Gary to help him out. So we can maintain for now and keep going. But by August, Bruce wants to be, doesn't want to be messing with it anymore. So we need to make a final decision by August.
And so as far as the EPD is concerned, are we off the hook? I know I've got a copy of that notice. So
They're coming out and meeting with Bruce sometime, did you say this week? It may be yesterday. They're coming out to talk to him. And from what he's saying, it's not there. He doesn't think it's going to be an issue. He thinks he has everything covered. I believe there was a gate that we need to put up somewhere, and he was going to get Gary to get some posts and we'll just put a cable across the road.
how is it?
That was on the inspection.
That was on the original inspection.
But the notice of violation.
And that gate will be on our property?
It'll be on our right of way. I'll make sure, or our easement.
Yeah, it's money.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, we'll make sure.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Don't want to go down that road again. And,
The other letter that they sent us was notice of the water operator, but that was just EPD's, one person had not told the other.
yeah, so on that, yes, we're good. We're squared away. So,
If we're looking to start looking at alternatives in July, don't we need to go ahead and start either talking to Raven County, Demorest, or whoever, so that we can make a decision in July?
if that's something y'all would want me to do, I'd be happy to do that.
Well, I mean, I'm not, trying to push something off on you or Scott. I mean, I think we need to.
I mean, I think we have to do the due diligence now.
Yeah.
We make decisions on our next meeting.
Yeah, there may be an issue with turning the water system over to another entity, but I need to talk to Warren about it first to make sure.
And the fact that we're already using Demorest water and have been now for a while, that to me would be the best bet.
I mean, personally, I'd like to stay on our low water. That's just me, but I understand and I'll do. I mean, the water system's never been a headache. If Raven or Demorest were to get it, I think we'd have to put some stipulations in place. Like they would charge the same rate they're charging for everybody else around us.
We're talking about the Redding County Water Authority contacting them.
Yeah, I think,
We have a new representative that should have some connections there and some pull to get us the cheapest one possible.
Oh, yeah.
we know you're the chief negotiator.
Yeah. 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, do some arm twisting.
Seriously, you know, I'm gonna speak for them, I never even attended the meeting. If this South Loop thing and the plant, it's like 10 years away. Now, they will be there. And there are some physical problems with pumping the water to Tallulah Falls because of the elevation change and things like that. But you know, I think talking.
My thought on that was, if we talk to them about it now, and they were agreeable to go ahead and take the system over as it is, before that loop's done, they have way better resources to be able to manage and maintain that system than our system that we really do at this point.
Yeah,
They
they,
have the manpower, they have the equipment, they have the knowledge. So it could that, I mean, maybe they would agree to
I'll
that.
certainly bring it up. You know, we didn't broach that subject. It was
Right.
more or less, I was kind of looking at it as an end of game kind of thing, you know, a
Right.
future goal, so that,
Yeah,
you know, you don't have to manage the water system in perpetuity,
right.
you know, that there might be a plan down the road.
But when change, things like this come up, you gotta be fluid, maybe
I
think
understand.
outside that just a little bit.
Now,
Now,
make some calls.
the one interesting thing is that we got notification today that we've made it to the next phase on that $4 million grant.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about. Yes, so you got notification, is this a letter or a phone call?
Today?
Yeah, so they just sent out the list of everybody that got to the next level, which is
It's
a lot of people.
list.
It's a pretty long list.
There's election in November too, so.
Do they rank where we are?
Yeah.
No, it's alphabetical.
Well, at least we're on the list, right?
Yeah, so it's gone to the appropriations committee is is the step we're at now,
So
so.
are we gonna lobby the appropriations committee or?
If we need to.
We'll make it-
Politicking.
we'll make it sound like we're doing more
Are
this
you
year.
politicking guy?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing hurts if we've got multiple options. I mean, if we get something from Raven County, which my impression is, dealing with that water authority before, any additional business that they can think that they can grab and, you know, justify or whatever, I think that they'll be interested. I think we should do the same thing with Dennis and Habersham. Anybody, I mean, if we want to go to Towns County, I don't care.
I mean, Demers supplies all of Habersham.
Right.
Till now.
So there's definitely an advantage to going that way too. I mean, I don't prefer it, but like I said, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, I mean, you know, I'd rather have a lot of different options than one in July.
All right. Get the ball rolling on that. I don't know, what's y'all's next, do you know when your next meeting is?
Second Tuesday of the month at 10 o'clock.
So it'd be the fourth,
That'd be before our next meeting then.
well, that'd be the 12th of June, July.
July.
Is our meeting the 7th or the 14th?
So, yeah. And on that note, Linda's gonna be taking vacation that first week of July. So I think Donna's gonna come in and man the phones and do a little bit of clerical work as she's able to, so.
So I have a question about the water.
Okay.
It's brought to my attention that this water is really high in iron. And I don't know what you can do about it, but I can't drink water like that. I just
Correct.
found that.
Currently, it's not.
That's coming from the wells.
We've not been using the well for 30 days now.
It's a little bit
A
longer,
little
isn't
bit longer,
it? About
yeah.
6 weeks, I think.
So
We've been on Denver.
It's coming only from Dennis.
So now's the time to store up water to drink.
Actually, it's not coming from Denver, it's coming from Toccoa. When I talked to Brian, with the Demers water system, he says the water we're getting is just coming straight from Toccoa.
If they don't have enough in Habersham.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I was
they're,
wondering.
so
I
they're
didn't
buying from
think-
Toccoa, we're buying from them
It's like we're-
and getting our water, so,
Yeah, ever since we've cleaned the tanks, we've been on Canadian, we haven't repolluted the tanks with the well water.
with the well water. And that's what the,
Flush
I
it
guess
out.
I just need to bring up the water report to be sure.
Yeah.
I can't read.
our, the grant that we were just discussing would include a filtration system that would remove 100% of the iron from our water if we were to go back. So that's why that's a big deal.
Yeah.
If we get it. That's, I think the filtration system was over $300,000 4 years ago. So it'd be a little bit more than that now, but,
Well, if you're wondering why, I have a hereditary condition, which is hereditary hemochromatosis. And I have to be careful. with my iron. If you know it's high, let me know.
yeah, we're not on the well water yet. We haven't really talked about going back to it just yet. We're still trying to crunch numbers to see if it's worth it. But if we get the grant, if we go with Emerson, we go with
I'll
whatever.
just have to keep on talking.
I have a water filter for my whole house. And so I bypassed it and it was just, I can just not use the filters. But then when I turn it back on, my filters immediately, and even during this month, it's orange.
Yeah.
So why is that?
It's probably from the existing pipes. It took me a while in my home. We were getting the same. And then finally it flushes it out. And the more you use it, the better it's going to get. That
So
was what
what
I,
you're saying is the iron is not in the water now, it's in the pipes.
well,
It's
all of our
what's
pipes.
collected all over town over the past how many years.
it's not just your home, but the infrastructure itself.
So if I started using the filters again today or tomorrow, do you think it would be orange?
Ours are the same one.
I've been doing it now for, I don't know,
It's about 6 weeks, I think.
6 weeks.
Yeah, 6.
My water's been orange for 20 years. And that was before we were on the city. And so the wells up there have iron. in it. This water has iron. Not every well. Just depends on the depth you drill and what you get into. What happened when we drilled this one, it got into more iron. That's why the filtration had to kick in, et cetera, et cetera. It gets built up onto your lines. They put a chemical in there to help the plaque on the lines, because the whole concept was for this chemical to make it stick so it didn't come into your house or through your faucet. Now that that chemical is not being used, and now we're any kind of banging on the lines, pressure changes, anything like that, it's gonna shake it loose. It's gonna come through your system.
Yeah, it
I mean, it just is.
clogs the filter.
There's nothing we can really do about that unless you replace the entire infrastructure.
Yeah, when I took we had a little bit of plumbing work and I took a piece of pipe, I still have it. You
Yeah,
can
mine
run your
broke.
finger around it.
Yeah, it's
It'll be
black.
ground. Yes, it's pretty bad. And
So why have a filter?
yeah,
Exactly.
Well, it might keep it out of your house plumbing if you've always maintained one, which we
Yeah.
have, that's at all our lines too.
Yeah, I did, several years ago, they replaced a line that provided water to my meter, brand new water line. And, I replaced all the pipes in my house at the same time and went to a tankless heater and put one of those whole house filters in. I've not had any yellow or red water. Every once in a while you get manganese, that'll make it through, see, the filter won't catch it. It'll be kind of cloudy orange, but we don't have rust spots on our sheets or clothing or anything like that. But not everybody in town is that fortunate. I was able to replace all my plumbing. Like I said, I went to a tankless heater. Because the other problem you're gonna have is in a tank heater, all that sludge is building up in the bottom of your water heater.
yeah, and that's,
Oh, that's, we flush out.
Well, from what I've read, when you just drain a water heater out, it just creates a river that the water flows through, but it still leaves all the stuff up on the side. So you have to actually take heating elements out, get in there and spray it down real good inside to get that sediment out. But that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I've taken my heat element out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So some of it's education, some of it may be water source change, some of it may be new filtration.
Well, now if we're coming through Demarest, it should be, unfortunately for everyone, it's kind of cleaning the pipes a little bit.
Yeah, it may be
Yeah,
knocking
makes
that
sense.
stuff off.
Yeah.
So.
I was told that the more we flush,
Yeah, the more it's gonna clean.
yeah,
And the big thing is not polluting our tank, all that we just got.
And that's the other thing, is we do need to schedule, unfortunately, another tank cleaning for the 20,000 gallon tank.
Yeah.
Because I know it's got all that in it, and that may be what our Hickory Nut residents are getting, is that sediment out of that tank.
If we keep it on Demarest, get that tank cleaned up, that would be big, big deal. Only problem with the city of Demarest, it costs money. Otherwise, the well's free.
Yeah.
So eventually, if we want to stay that route without having a raw water intake or some other income coming in, it's an increase in cost on your water bill.
I mean,
So
rough
that's that
estimate, I'm looking, it's rough, but it's about $7 more a month.
Right. And I'd be willing to pay that in a heartbeat. I'm not saying everyone would.
I was buying drinking water, spending $100
Yeah.
a month to purchase drinking. water.
That's to stay on the Demarest flow.
Can't be
It's not hooked back into our well system. The well system is the one that costs us money on filtration. It pollutes the lines. It does everything.
Well, we get
Creates a
EPA,
problem.
EPD
Yeah.
violations also. from
Yeah.
it.
We still have the pumping and the tanks we have to take care of, but the iron in the water in the well is what's contributed to most of the problems that I can see. So that seems so far.
So it's $7 more a month?
Well, again, that was just.
That's
a
just,
rough
we're
figure.
trying to figure those numbers out.
We're
But to
trying
be
to-
honest with you,
I've
we
not
want-
seen an actual bill yet from them, so.
we gotta-
We just got
We
one.
just got it.
so then now we'll know.
700,000 gallons.
Do all the residents of Blue Falls have the same problem, just super that now?
It's
So
down in
guy
this
had a
area.
problem.
It's down in this area, it's Gorgeview and Hickory Nut. There are people that live on the Habersham County side that they have Demarest water, the churches, the schools, out that way. So it's just people that are on the well system.
Everyone that's on the well pretty much has a problem. Michelle has the problem down here. I don't know if Mary Beth does. But
Yeah,
yeah,
she
she's
does.
always been around for years. When I've ever talked to her
But the people on the system, do they have problems like we do?
on the Tallulah Falls system, yes.
Yeah, everybody does.
Not, you're not on the.
Well,
He's
he's on
he's on
Demarest.
Demarest.
He's on
You're on
Demarest.
Demarest. We're talking about the school. I mean, not school. Our water system.
So it's down here at the general store. It's at the new Tallulah Adventure, anybody, the state park.
If you pump iron out of the ground, it's going through the system. It's that simple. It is.
So Tallulah Falls School is not coming through the city
No,
water system.
no, they've been on Demarest since the early 2000s, I believe.
And they have 2 water.
Tanks, yeah. Yeah, they have a couple of tanks.
I mean, we may all forget, but when Wayne had us on the wells up there, the water was no better.
No, it wasn't.
It was actually
It was a lot
worse.
worse.
As far as being running, keeping it consistently flowing, but the flavor of the water wasn't that great either.
No, and it was not.
So ever since we've gotten on city, my water's gotten better. Don't get me wrong, I still have iron. And then when I got involved, I learned that we're pumping iron, well is full of iron. So I'm trying to run it through a not so correct filtration system to get rid of iron, which is why we did that. I have no idea. But, there's a lot of things I don't understand. So.
Yeah, I mean, when Wayne had that up there, every time a thunderstorm.
Right, I mean,
you
you dealt with it,
well,
I dealt with
it
it,
takes
it's just what it
time.
was. When the city took over, I was happy.
You mean lightning? Lightning would take it out?
But it's happened that Lightning's taken it out here.
I didn't take that last day.
Well, I didn't take some a lot of stuff, but I mean, I can remember when we first built up there was a well directly, literally across from where I live. And anytime a lightning, storm would come through any kind, it'd take out my garage doors and well, literally every time it'd take the pump out.
I think it still sort of does happen with lightning, so that's why if it hits the pump, it hits it, because it seems like every time we have a really bad storm, we don't have the water the next day.
That's why that became one of my routines. If an electrical storm comes through, I'll either go up or I'd send Gary up, or someone goes up and checks to see if those pumps are running.
I'm not saying it happens every single time, but it happens
It
enough
happens
that you
enough.
just hold your breath. And hope to go.
So try to make it a habit to go there and check. But that's what would be nice if we can get a system that would alert us when those pumps aren't running, which Chris Ward said that they sell, and he says they're cheap.
Yeah, he told me that. He wanted that.
So I'm definitely gonna look into those for us too. I don't know if it'll work with our current system.
What about surge protection?
I had Chris, had Juan look at that as well, so I need to call Juan and get him to give us an idea of, I don't know that they would do the work, but he knows what we need, and he can direct us, and so then we could hire someone like Winchester or someone local to do what they spec, so I'll probably talk to them and get them to spec something out for us. So yeah, Chris is just a godsend. He's been real helpful, been real knowledgeable and helpful.
American Water not only does the water part, but they also have the electrical division.
Yeah,
So that's an option.
so then they would have that knowledge too. So yeah, definitely bring all that together. One did look at the system, and Rick, the other guy, looked at our electrical layout and said they really didn't see anything wrong with what was there. They noticed a couple of improvements, like they said, we need a third grounding rod, and that might help with the lightning issues. But they also need to be bonded together. And ours, they're not right now. So yeah, there's some improvements that still need to be made, but they were fairly clear that the electrical problems were not what was causing the issues we've been having. But we do need protection, because also the transducers are on the wrong side of the backflow preventer. They used to be on the outside of the building, and somehow wires, they got taken out and moved inside. Don't know when that happened. Just Isaac with MTech had noticed it and asked me about it on the phone. I said, I don't know if they've been changed or not. And then Chris said that Juan, when he saw it, he's like, yeah, those transducers need to be on the other side of that other check valve. So we've got some setup issues we need to fix also. But that's minor. I just don't want us to have a pump burn out on us while we're waiting. So yeah, still things to do, still improvements to make. Still got a decision to make as to how we're gonna do it, who we're gonna have do it. So. All right. David.
So Linda, we're still in the running to the grant. Was this what you were expecting to hear by July, or were you expecting a decision?
I was hoping it was gonna be a decision.
Do you have a time frame for when that might be? Did they? Okay.
Well, when's the election? November?
Yeah, right. So
We'll get an answer
So
right
we get a
before
no
election.
November 5th?
So October 31st.
Yeah.
That's when you'll hear about it, October 31st. So,
Well, you have the ARP. You have some funds that are already in your budget, correct?
Correct.
For the water improvements.
It was 60.
Is $63,000 already
Yeah.
in the this coming budget.
yeah, and there is a filtration system that has been looked at that the guarantee is 95% of the iron out of the water. I'd like to get that in writing and sign in blood.
Yeah, I'm not so excited about the wells at the moment.
So,
That's just me. I know the money matters.
You mentioned manganese, that's our situation. We're on a well, and we had our water tested, and it was the highest level of manganese they've ever seen in this area. So keeping a close eye on manganese, is that part of our problems as well, or is it just we happen to be able to know?
yeah, from what I recall, manganese in our water is present, but it's patchy in our well. So It's not a constant issue, but it
used
is
to be
there.
bad, so we made improvements.
Yeah, it has been,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
so.
One of the questions, talking about dimmers, are we looking at dimmers just to put water in our tanks and then we maintain the rest of the infrastructure? Or are we looking at them to take over the water system? Its maintenance?
Yes,
Yes.
both.
So
I think
Well,
both.
oh,
We're gonna
both.
see both. Excuse me.
we're gonna see Linda's cost report on
Yeah,
what water costs, and we gotta figure something out quick.
right. The one thing though, if we went to Demorest, that would be nice is we could actually bypass, we wouldn't need to use our 60,000 gallon tank anymore.
If you increase the size of the line.
No, right now, right now, it's almost blowing fixtures out of my house.
So,
The pressure coming from Demorest is nice.
We have the pressure reducers on the hydrants too.
we have to re-coordinate, right? We need to do a
Maybe,
test and check
maybe not.
coordination,
Yeah, because that's what Brian was telling me is that Toccoa hyperchlorinates their water.
So it can travel.
And so it can travel, so we may not have to chlorinate at all.
Well, that'll come out in the report, I mean,
Yeah.
test.
Oh, yeah, we have to test it.
Ben made a good sidebar comment. Right now, it's Toccoa. Demorest does not have enough water. They are bringing the water from Toccoa is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, for the north end of the county.
Correct, so it's all one and
Yeah, it's all the
technically,
same.
We're billed by Demorest, but Toccoa is supplying it,
Right.
because we looked at Toccoa in the past and it was at that time. So that's why it's coming through Demorest.
Right.
Yeah.
Demer's owns the pipes.
Yeah, they have the pipes.
Yeah, we made a well, I don't know if it's a mistake now, but we were offered all the pipes into the falls when Habersham Water Authority was being shut down. And that included the school and some other things. Well, our well at the time wouldn't have handled what the school needed, so we said no. And so all that side of town eventually became Demorest Water
Demer's took over.
and took all that stuff. And then, but like Terry said, they don't have enough water, so they're buying from Toccoa to supplement. And that's what we're getting. We're getting that water from Toccoa. So it just comes
Through Demorest.
straight on through them.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't make it quite to Demorest, but it's coming through their
they
pipes.
built.
Yeah. So
So Toccoa is selling water.
Yeah.
Through Demorest,
to Demorest.
Toccoa is making money selling water.
yes. They have a lake, they have a
They have
strong,
a lake.
they have a strong.
They have a strong-
After they have strong.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Brian said that they've got a permit or an agreement to take 4 million gallons a day from Toccoa, but they're only doing like 1 million right now. Because I was asking, could they handle us being on their system? And so, yeah, sure, no problem. Got plenty of water, so.
There's somebody making.
That's all right.
I have a question / comment. I am on a well now because of my concerns of investment into the water system. I respect the position, that's why I've made my own investment. My concern is the lack of transparency when things are happening, the communication capabilities to the citizens. That is a concern to me, is the hearsay is that one person, the mayor, had the authority to make a change in a small town. In the future, how is this communication transparency going to move forward amongst the council with these kinds of decisions? Small, Reverend Turpin always said, we're small enough town, we should be able to talk. Unless was a dire emergency to be made, one person about discussions and community involvement. What is the future on on that transparency, and should a person that's on the water system have a problem, who do they call? Because I'm one of the people that I have read all the water reports every month, and I'm like, and I've asked the mayor, and we have a water workshop to kind of see what's going on, what do we need to be doing, what do the operators say we need to do, and it all just seems to just fall dead. And then one day or one night, there's a decision made. So I'm just concerned about the lack of transparency. And then the second item, I would like publicly for the violation letters to be read, if EPD's issuing violation, what are they? And how are we addressing it? If it's a gauge security issue, what's going on?
The only violation letter we had was that they didn't have notice of our water operator. But it had been sent to another person in the division, and that person had not told this person, so that was.
Fair.
So there's no other violation, because earlier you were saying there was somebody's.
Yeah,
security
that wasn't a
gauge.
violation, that was on our last sanitary survey, I
Yeah,
believe,
so
so they make recommendations when they do the sanitary.
Kind of like our
survey.
CPA does.
So,
I would like to hear from the council and mayor about this communication transparency, and from this day forward, if you have an operator, what's the number to call? It seems like in the past, there's been too many people involved in the water system, and no one personally just seems.
well, I know from my point of view, I've communicated with the council. I tell them, Scott was in on the texts with the water department while we were trying to figure these things out. When the decision was made, because it seemed like an emergency, and it gotten to that point, I notified the council immediately. So,
I guess I think what they're asking is who do we call, who do they call now?
Who they
They call Linda, you,
Well,
you call,
my number is posted.
call Scott.
Yeah,
Yeah,
call
okay,
Scott,
so
call
it's
me.
transparent. You call Scott, if you got issues with water.
any one of us. I just know that I get texts, and when I get that text like Thursday, I went up to reset the pump, and then I got on my phone and I texted the water department and Scott and told them what had happened, what I did, and went on, and they thanked me for doing it. And then Friday it happened again, so I texted them again, said, hey, something's going on. It's a little worse than we thought. And so there's not a lack of transparency. We can't always get word out to every single person in town for every little thing that happens, but we do have our reports. We do have, I'm answering my phone. So the problem was I was on vacation.
Problem was we didn't have a backup.
And we didn't have that
No one had a
backup.
maintenance checklist that I've found anywhere.
Right.
Do
But
checks
who
on
do
it.
we call when our water goes out? And I'm with the public mountain in mine, I've been told this. that
Call
it's
Scott.
public.
Yeah.
Call Scott.
Yes, public, no.
Well, we all have been told to call Van, and then Van calls you, so you don't get a ton of calls.
And that's fine. Van can
Van could-
put Scott in on that same number.
Yeah,
So that both of us.
so we should give Van Scott's number,
Yeah,
so he doesn't get a bunch of calls. I mean,
Yeah, that would
Van,
probably.
we just text him and go, San John Water, you got pressure,
Yeah,
and so it's on a group thing.
yeah. So Van could just put Scott's number in with mine and keep that rolling.
My number, I'll give it to you now, is 706. But it's posted on the website.
Is
also.
it? Okay, I got it all there.
Yeah, now where we had a little bit of a disconnect, and we found it later, was that Scott Porter's phone number was on everybody's bill. And Scott Porter's not been with EMS for quite some time, so I don't know if we made that change over to either Scott or my number to be the one to contact. Scott's on, okay.
When they ran out of water, who did they call this past time?
Van texted me.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't text Van
Yeah.
or Van.
And then when
Well,
there's
he's-
an
But
update,
he
Van,
likes to do
Van, yeah,
Yeah.
he offered to do it,
Yeah.
and he's been a great point of
I'm not
contact.
familiar with
He
that.
likes to do it this
Yeah, I'm happy to,
Yeah.
but
which is great.
I'm unaware of it.
what I'm saying is, if you or whoever's working on the system, they know it's gonna be up for a day, or a week, that would be good information for us to know.
But we
Well, I think
sent
we're
Yeah,
looking
we'll
at-
send,
We
yeah,
sent a notice out the last time we had an issue. But at the same time, that system was down, wasn't it? Our communication
Yeah,
system.
Code
There was
Red.
one time that we
Yeah.
couldn't
Code Red
send a
was-
message, because Code Red had an issue there.
and the problem,
But I can still send an email.
yeah, that's where we have a little bit of a problem. We have a lot of people on an email list, but Linda's the only one with that email list. So if it's on a weekend and she can't do it or she's not around, We have access, we can have access to Code Red, but not everybody's signed up on Code Red yet. So we send both, we do Code Red and try to do the email at the same time. But
And I've
if
got
more
the email
people,
thing I can do on my phone if somebody will call me.
Yeah.
And just,
The key, yeah, you gotta be notified.
right. And we have, there's been times, I forget,
Yeah.
not too long ago, I've texted, I've called her, texted her, emailed her. On a weekend and said, hey, we got a problem, can you get that email list sent out? And then I jump on Code Red and send it.
I did get somebody complain about when the tree was down. He said something
Yeah.
there that,
I was busy. Didn't even think about it for that one.
so, and part of it is getting used to having the
mindset.
access to do it when something's.
And we
I
can
have a
have
comment
multiple
about
access.
the tree. I just happened to be driving home. And so I tried to come down on there, and I went around to the side. And there were, the lady from Florida was telling people to turn around. But there were probably 6 or 7 cars. And then it was jammed when people were coming in. And what I'm saying is, I don't know how you get the word to a police person, because what should have happened, that road should have been closed. Because we could only go down to right where the stop sign is. And I would say,
The problem is we couldn't get a police officer on the other side of the line, so they're on the ground. We
well, I
couldn't,
don't know, I don't
yeah.
know how you communicate, don't you have walkie-talkies?
yeah, but there was nobody on the other side of the line that we could get to shut the road down.
Okay, I'm just asking,
Yeah, no,
I'm
no,
just asking what
I
the
get it.
protocol is.
Yeah, we had to, what I,
Dangerous.
yeah. What I did in that case, what I did was we eventually got, when Georgia Power showed up on scene, the first thing I had the guy do was take those lines that were on the ground. Once they were dead, he confirmed that they were dead, we moved them off to the side, then we were able to send some people up. Emergency vehicles couldn't get through at that point, but by then, everybody had figured it out and we're back home.
I'm talking about when you first turned on 441 on Main Street. not
Oh,
there.
down here.
Yes, not up there.
Oh, yeah, I guess we could have.
No, when I turned there were so many cars, because we didn't know when we turned in that there was a roadblock.
Right.
And so then there was just a jam there. And then, so a lot of people, including me, was driving out. And what should have been, I think, that road should have been closed.
Right.
So I don't know, like I said, what the protocol is to get somebody to close the road.
I could have sent someone over, we just weren't thinking about it. It's not a common occurrence.
You know, if anybody made a mistake and they're backing up, people were nervous because it was hazardous.
Is there anything else? We really didn't have public comments, but they're welcome anyway. So if there's nothing else, then we'll give a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. All right. Second, Craig seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys. And thank you for getting that shirt.
Yeah.
I caught 4. It was big. Oh, that I know. It's on